Welcome to another exciting Scrumcademy episode. We are your gateway to unlocking the full potential of Agile methodology. I am Grand Scrum Master Scott, your Agile journey guide, and today we're delving deep into the heart of Agile with a focus on the Agile Manifesto. In this episode, we'll explore the Agile Manifesto, often regarded as the blueprint for a software revolution. I will answer one of the many questions of why was the manifesto created in the first place? And then, what problem is it trying to solve? I think those are two important questions that every Scrum and Agile practitioner should be able to answer in grave detail. I will also give you a visual of how Agile and Scrum play together with each other. Prepare to unleash Agile excellence as we navigate through the history, the values, the principles, and the profound impact of the manifesto on modern software development. Whether you're an Agile veteran or new to the Agile landscape, this episode has something for everyone. Join us as we dissect the essence of the manifesto, unravel its significance, and discover how it serves as your guiding compass in the pursuit of software development greatness. However, before we dive in, I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so that you never, ever miss a Scrumcademy episode. Together, we're about to embark on a journey through Agile's revolutionary core, the Agile Manifesto. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Before we get into the Agile Manifesto, I want to take a step back and give you some context in terms of the question that I posed to you in the introduction. Why was the Agile Manifesto created in the first place? In order for you to understand that intimately, I have to take you back in time a little bit and give you the landscape of what was going on in the 1990s, when these things was coming about. In the 1990s, we witnessed a rapidly changing business environment. We were looking for shorter product life cycles and increasing customer demands. Software development needed to adapt to these changes by becoming more flexible and responsive. So back then, we had several different methodologies and frameworks out there, but they all had the same common denominator. We would plan everything up front and then execute that plan, aka that would be called your traditional project management or waterfall methodology, meaning that we plan everything up front and then we execute that plan. Now, developers back then, we was kind of frustrated with the way things were because we would spend all that time on building something amazing and we get the customer requirement in the form of a business requirements, documents, different things of that nature. Your environment may be different, but let's just call it a project management plan. We would get the project management plan, which detailed all the customer requirements, everything they want, and we would go build it. It may take us months, sometimes years, and then we get to the end of that. The customer look at it and is like, what the freak? Then we would have to go back to the drawing board in some cases. Rarely could we just modify it because we was in too deep. Again, we're talking about years of putting this thing together. So is that the best approach to an ever-changing environment? What else was going on at that time? Well, we had the rise of the tech industry growth increase, and the need for innovative and fast-paced development practices was definitely needed because, again, we only had one option, waterfall methodology, plan everything up front and then execute that plan. And then some other things that was going on during that time. We had three main methodologies. You had Lean, you had Six Sigma, and you had Project Med, PMP. Now, the common denominator in all three of those approaches and three of those methodologies is that they all planned everything up front and then executed that plan. Well, how are you going to do that, for example, if we're trying to get to Saturn? How are you going to plan everything up front? Would that be the best approach for us to really figure out how to get to Saturn? Remember, we said the internet was fairly new. What? Kind of like ChatGPT day? Exactly. Landscape is changing again. Very nice. So we knew we needed some new approaches to how we dealt with things. We were thinking about lean methodology. Lean methodology is all about eliminating waste. Remember in the framework, I identified that Scrum is founded upon two things. One of them is lean methodologies. We seek to eliminate waste, the waste of time, the waste of steps. Anything that you can think of that's wasteful, we seek to eliminate it if you're talking about lean methodology. Now, during this time, there were some individuals actually doing some experiments using their framework, their methodology, and they doing legendary things all on their own. Okay? Now, with that context in mind, kind of give you the landscape of that time that the manifesto was created. Let's go to the manifesto, read it, and go through it so that we can extrapolate some insights and see what is this thing trying to get us to see. In my view, it is the blueprint. Follow this, you will get to this destination called Agile. And I also want to explore the idea, the question of what does it mean to have an Agile mindset? I used to ask that question a lot. That used to be one of my first few questions I asked when I go on a Scrum team. Whether it's an Agile coach, whether it's the product owner, whether it's the developers, whether it's some other Scrum master, I would ask that question to everybody in the Agile and Scrum community. What does it mean to have an Agile mindset? And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? If I ask 100 people that question, I will get 100 different answers. I'm bald because of some of the questions I've asked. Because some of the answers I get, I just scratch my head. I'm like, what? What? It's pitiful. You can run this experiment if you want. Ask 5 people, 10 people randomly. They're in the Agile community, of course. The idea that they know about this thing. So ask them. And sadly, you will get that many different answers. In my case, I did a survey of 100 people and I got 100 different answers. I'm like, how in the heck can I get 100 different answers when there's only one manifesto of Agile software development? What the heck is going on up in here? I'll let you decide that. Let's dive into it for yourself because you know what Scrumcademy is all about. We're all about not being Scrum dumb. So I may even got another channel called Not Scrum Dumb. Why? You know, it's not to call anybody out from a negative standpoint. It certainly is to give you something. Really? Is that what you're thinking? Well, first of all, why are you thinking? Haven't you read it for yourself? If not, we're going to go through it together and we're going to extrapolate some insight for you so that you understand how Agile and Scrum play together. All right. With that said, let's dive into it and begin to go a little bit deeper in this thing. Now, here we have the Manifesto for Agile Software Development. You can find this at agilemanifesto.org, O-R-G, if you want to pull it up on your website. Now, as we look at this, as you can see, this manifesto has been translated in several different languages. I also noticed that this was created back in 2001. The Agile Manifesto for Software Development has not changed since its inception. This is the original document. And we're going to look at the history in a moment. Of course, over time, there are more people using Agile. It was specifically made for software development, but there's several different domains of business using Agile now, even though it was made for software development. So in your case, if you're not in IT and software development, then change that word to fit your environment. It was made for IT, but those of you who are in IT know that more often than not, every time we put something out there for a specific purpose, people find other ways to use it. And I'm glad that happened with the Agile Manifesto and also the Scrum Guide, because we didn't see that it being used at Ghana Police Department to reduce crime. We didn't see it being used in school. We didn't see it being used in manufacturing. Again, I can't recall an industry that Scrum and Agile has not penetrated yet. So as we look at this Manifesto for Agile Software Development website, let's go down to the authors. If you want to click on the authors and find out who they are. It does a great job in terms of identifying a little bit of their background. Who are they? What their contributions are or were at that particular time. Now, let's go about the manifesto. Not sure if you've ever clicked on this, but this is the history. I gave you a preface. I didn't talk about everything, but that's why I wanted to step back and make sure you knew the history, the lay of the land before we got to this point so that as we're going through it, it will make perfect sense to you. Now, this was on February the 11th through the 13th, back in 2001, where these gentlemen got together at a lodge at Snowbird Ski Resort in Utah. United States. So it starts off by telling you when and where. Now, it also tells you that over time, we've come up with a term called Agile methodologies. What is that? Okay, I will give you a visual of what that looks like. But as you can see here, there are representatives for each software development framework or methodology that was relevant back in 2001. They are here at the party. So who's at the party? Extreme programming is there. Scrum is there. DSDM, adaptive software development. Crystal, feature-driven development. Don't we have something called behavior-driven development today? Test-driven development. Okay. Pragmatic programming. And others are at this party to solve at least two problems that were going on during that time. We've highlighted one. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the first one in a moment. When you come to my class, for those of you who've already been in my class, you know I spend an awful lot of time on this. I normally stand up during this episode. So as you can see, I'm sitting down. I got my suit on because the suit is going to be a representation to my mind. Scott, you got your suit on. You ain't got your hoodie on. So you need to be professional when you go through this. So yeah, this is a way for me to protect myself. And hopefully as I'm seeing myself with this here shirt and tie on, man, I kind of feel like I'm going to a funeral anyway. I'm going to a funeral and then I'm going to a birthing of something all in the same day. So we're going to do that here in this episode. Now, one thing I want to call out that it kind of struck me, right? It really struck. Let me highlight this a little bit more. So you see this here thing. Again, this is written in 2001, or at least documented in 2001 over that weekend, as far as what we know. But let's take a read on this. In order to succeed in the new economy, to move aggressively into the era of e-business, the internet, yep, e-commerce and the web, yeah, it's big now. Companies have to rid themselves of their Dilbert manifestations of make work and arcane policies. Wow. This freedom from the inanities of corporate life attracts proponents of agile methodologies and scares the beejeebers. You can't use the word shit in a professional paper. Out of traditionalism. Quite frankly, the agile approaches scare corporate bureaucrats, at least those that are happy pushing process for process. That's worth reading again. That was so good. At least those that are happy pushing process for process sake versus trying to do the best for the customer and delivering something timely and tangible and as promised because they run out of places to. Wow. I saw a lot of that in my project management days. And if you never have seen that, spend some time on this page reading about the history. As you know, history does repeat itself. We're going into another phase now, as I mentioned, artificial general intelligence and then ultimately general intelligence. That's the path we're on. Yeah, we're back there again. History does repeat itself. So for those of you who may doubt Scrum and Agile, ask yourself this. Okay, you plan everything up front in terms of us getting to artificial general intelligence. Okay, we plan everything up front. I doubt very seriously. So that is the history. Take some time to go through that. That way you can become agile, smart, and not rely on other people to give you this information. All this information is right here. It's been up for quite some time. Why more people actually go on to this and understanding the history? I know when you understand the history of a thing, that everything else just makes perfect sense. Agile supports Scrum. Scrum supports Agile. And I'll make sure you're clear on that before we complete this episode. Now let's go back to the first page, the home page. Now, we know the date is in February. An easy way for me to remember it is Black History Month, okay? Now, who's at the party? All these individuals. These are representatives from the frameworks and the methodologies that was being used back pre-2001. They have a problem. The problem is, I alluded to in the beginning, is that, hey, we got all these wild things to do, and we still using project management to try to plan everything up front and then execute that plan. How is that working out for us? It's not. It's not. So we got to do something different. So Ken Swaber and Jeff Sutherland, these are the co-creators of the Scrum Guide at the party. Now notice something. Scrum is older than Agile. Scrum was already being used before 2001. As you read the Scrum Guide, I highlighted for you almost at the bottom of the Scrum Guide, the credits. I know Fidelity was one of the first few companies that actually used Scrum, but it was already being used before the manifesto of Agile software development was even created. So they here at the part to try to solve these two problems. One I'm going to give you today, the other one you're going to have to do your homework. Because again, I got my suit on and I'm not going to lose it today. Now let's read this thing. Let's read it. Let's go through it. You might have read it before. Maybe you didn't understand the context or the history of it before you read it. And I get it. Because I say the history is important for you to understand the context, A, and B. You should ask questions like, why did this happen? Okay, what was happening prior to that in order for this here event to happen? And then the result is the manifesto for Agile software development. So let's begin to read it. We're uncovering better ways of developing software. Okay. Why is that important? Here's a fact for you. During that time, most projects failed when we plan everything up front and try to execute that plan. Failed based upon what, Scott? That's a beautiful question. Thank you so much for asking. Failed based upon time, budget, and scope, aka it is called the triple constraint. Time, budget, and scope. We're uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it. The experiment is over. The experiment is over. They are already doing legendary things on their own. And now they want to help others to do it. Ooh, I mean, we just got into the first sentence. This thing is already getting hot. Through this work, we've come to value what? What do we value over here in this agile world? We value individuals and interactions over processes and tools. We value working software over comprehensive documentation. We value customer collaboration over contract negotiation. We value responding to change over following a doggone plan. And the last line is important too. That is why there's value in the items on the right. We value the items on the left more. Now, the items on the right will be the processes and tools, comprehensive documentation, contract negotiation, and following the doggone plan. That would be your traditional project management. That would be your traditional waterfall methodology. Now, over here on Agile, concern and our focus primarily is individuals and interactions, working software, customer collaboration, responding to change. Okay. We don't devalue these items on the right. Our focus, as it said, let's read it again. While there is value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. Now let's go to the principles and we'll begin to gain some insights from there. The 12 principles of Agile software. These are the principles behind the Agile Manifesto. Now we'll start with principle number 1. Draw this a little bit bigger just in case. 12 of them to go through. All right. Hopefully that's good for everybody. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Well, a couple of things I want to highlight there for you. This is principle number 1. It starts out talking about the customer. Isn't every business that's in business, even non-for-profits, you in business for what reason? To serve the customer. The customer is the number one thing. The customer is what makes everything happen. If there is no customer, then really no business. So our highest priority should be the people who we are serving. In this case, we're talking about the customer. Now, the other reason that this principle is important to me is this. When I was in my project management days, I do remember an awful lot of projects that had absolutely nothing to do with the customer from an external standpoint. It could have been about making some stakeholder that's higher in the company's life better. Ask yourself, whatever company you're at, whatever project or product you're working on delivering to so-called a stakeholder or customer, okay, I'm assuming that you know what it is you're building. But my question becomes, who is it for? And a lot of companies, it's for some team within the organization that wants to make their life easy. Okay, We got to upgrade, do that. We make sure our platforms within the organizations are up to speed. I get that. But what else are you doing? What are you doing to make the customer experience even better? Hmm, something for you to think about. Let's go over to changing requirements, the next principle. We welcome changing requirements, even late in development. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. Oh, wow. It's okay for us to change our minds? Yeah. Now, why is that baked in the equation? There's a lot of science and psychology already baked into the manifesto and the Scrum Guide that I talk about in grave detail in the class. But for now, in this here episode, if you just do the manifesto as it's laid out, and if you do the Scrum Guide as it's laid out, you don't need to know all this here science and psychology. But I teach that in my classes because I want you to understand that you've already know from the Scrum Guide that we're playing a behavior game. Can you change anybody's behavior? The answer is heck no, you cannot. But hopefully you can put a mirror in their face where you show them their behavior, and that result from that mirror would be like, oh, wow, I didn't know I looked like that. We can do that. And hopefully by doing that, that will help the person see their behavior. And as a result of that, I believe and have seen they will want to change if that visual is clear enough. We welcome changing requirements. And the other thing that's important is that I want you to think about a time where you had some creative idea in your mind. Now, when you have that conversation with Alice in Wonderland in your mind, oh, she makes it look so great. He makes it look so great in your head. But when you bring it to manifestation in the real world, sometimes it's like, what the freak is that? I remember having that experience with my haircut, getting ready for my high school prom. I took a picture of Will Smith to the barber so that he could not make a mistake. And when he showed me that mirror at the end, it was like, what the freak? Now, even though he cut my hair exactly as the picture I showed him, when it was cut on my head, it didn't look right. Are y'all tracking? Yes. We welcome changing requirements even late. People will change their mind. That's just part of the process. So why don't we just bake that into the process versus making it so hard for people to change their mind? Because again, we're taking something in most cases from our mind and trying our best to bring it to fruition, bring it to the manifestation. It's not going to look like you had in your mind. There's going to be several iterations that it's going to have to go through for it to be good enough. We're not looking for perfection. We're looking for good enough. Now, we want to increase the feedback loops because this is all a hypothesis. This is all an assumption that we're making as identified in the Scrum framework. When we start out at sprint planning, all we have is a hypothesis. So how can we best use that to our advantage, knowing that the conversation you have in Alice in Wonderland in your head versus the reality of what's going to be is not going to be the same. So what do we need to do? Increase the feedback loops. Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. So since we're serving the customer, shouldn't the customer be able to change their mind as many times they want to change? Absolutely. Shouldn't our processes and our approach to the work be such that it will allow the customer to change his or her mind at the drop of a dime? Doesn't that sound like Agile? Yes, it does. We want to deliver software frequently. Frequently. Why? I just touched on that from the standpoint of frequently because we have this idea. I want you to think about a time you told somebody or had somebody to do some work for you and you just told them up front. Let's say you went on vacation somewhere and you got back 3 months later, taking something out of your mind, wrote it on a piece of paper. You gave it to this person or persons to build for you. You get back and you look at it and it's like, what the freak? I built it exactly as you told me to build it. Oh, but that's not what I wanted. So we want to shorten that cycle. So in that example, let's say you gave somebody to do something. Let's say it's a 3-month project. So you give it to them today. This is the start of the project and nobody ever sees you again at the end of the project. And you haven't seen it no time in between. Is that the best approach? Probably not for something brand new. So we want to shorten the time scale. Scrum says we're going to have 1 month sprint to do iterations. Every 1 month, we're going to deliver a small nugget of the overall project for you to give us feedback to validate if we're going in the right direction. Keep going straight. No, pivot and go left. No, pivot and go right. Oh, heck no. Go back to the drawing board because that's definitely not what I'm talking about. Oh, okay, great. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. This kind of leads into the answer to question number 2. Why was the manifesto created? And what problems are they trying to solve? I've given you one problem, that we can't plan everything up front and then execute that plan and expect the customer is going to be happy with that approach. Now, the other is very, very passionate to me. That's why I'm sitting down. I can't even talk about that in this episode. Certainly when you come to my class, I'm definitely going to deep dive and dissect that, give you even more data than what I'm giving you to support what I'm saying in terms of most projects fail. The first question. The second question, I will be standing up for that question. But this does give you a clue as to what the second problem is. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Well, hell, haven't business people and developers always worked together daily on the project? Interesting. I'll let you do your homework on that one. Now, notice that sounds like a command. I mean, reading the rest of these principles on here, they not command this like, you gonna do this type of thing? Read that one again, because that's some good stuff in there. Oh, business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. Must work together. Well, haven't they always worked together with each other? Interesting. We want to build projects around motivated individuals and give them the environment and support they need, like in kindergarten class, and trust them to get the job done, just like we all experience in kindergarten class. The teacher gave us an assignment, gave us an example of how to complete the assignment. Then he or she gave us the space to go ahead and build that assignment, to bring it to life. I'm thinking about Christmas. Every kindergarten class in the world is going to be building something related to a Christmas tree, a gift, Santa Claus. You get the idea. But we want to build projects around motivated individuals and give them the environment and support they need and trust. Do you trust your team? What does trust look like on your team? Trust them to get the job done. Now, the next principle, let me go back. I want to show you another thing while I'm here. You see these 4 principles here? These 4 principles are customer-centric. Okay, these first 4. Now, the second 4 are more centered around managers. Managers, we want to build projects around motivated individuals, not you tell the individuals, hey, Scott, you go work with Isaac. I don't like Isaac, but go work with him anyway. How's the productivity of your team going to be with a situation like that? Why don't we give Isaac and Scott the opportunity to go work on the team they want to work on? You see, it's already built into the equation. If we do this thing right, it eliminates a whole lot of potential problems that can come up along the way. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a development team is face-to-face. Okay, yeah, that's there back in 2001, but the times are changing. We have a lot of virtual tools that we can use to simulate that face-to-face conversation as much as possible. I agree with that, but however, if you are not in a face-to-face situation, then the question becomes, how are you going to best facilitate and manage that face-to-face simulation? You have visual boards online, you have Zoom, you have all kinds of tools that you could mimic that. And the tools are only increasing. This was written back in 2001, where we didn't have all the technology we have today. And remember, this has not changed since its inception. But I do agree with that from the standpoint of, yes, that is the most efficient and most effective method of conveying information. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Why do you have Excel spreadsheets in your environment? If you truly have a agile approach to your work, the Excel spreadsheet is no indication of it being done. Well, what are you doing that for? Or why? Working software is the primary measure of progress. Working software, working product. If you're not in software, again, I'm talking from a software perspective because I'm giving you the history of this, but you can supplement that word to fit it for your environment. Working software is the primary measure of progress, period. So why do you have an Excel spreadsheet? Why are you updating to your boss? Why are you updating this? We started out talking about trust back here, right? and trust your team to get the job done. You remember that statement I started out with in the history? Okay, you create the damn process instead of solving the problem. Basically what I was saying. Why don't we just solve the problem and forget about creating a process? Let's focus on dealing with the problem. More on management. Want to build projects around motivated individuals. The most efficient and effective way of conveying information is face-to-face. Go talk to who you need to talk to if you're in that environment. Working software is the primary measure of progress. Managers. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. Once you start Scrum and Agile, it's highly unlikely that you will ever stop. Because the project won't ever be over. I'm thinking about a website. If your company have a website, that website will go on long after you and I are left this world. There will be some update, some iteration that website is going to have to go through. There's always ADA requirements that's going to have to be updated. There's always something that's going to have to be updated on that website. So once we start a sprint, and if we're using, let's say, the product goals to efficient, optimized website, project will go on forever. Will never be complete. With that in mind, we want to work at a constant pace indefinitely. Some things we won't ever be able to finish. We're playing an infinite game. The last four principles are centered around the theme of the team. So let's check those out. Team. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Okay? How are your systems? Last time your system had an upgrade. Can you upgrade? Can you deal with some of all this here artificial intelligence tools that are out here? Most companies cannot. Say platforms are just so legacy, but they have to upgrade or either trash that legacy platform and then go from there. Simplicity. Simplicity is the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Okay? I remember watching Elon Musk on Battery Day says something to this effect. Everything we put out there to the customer is wrong. We're just waiting on the customer to tell us how to get it right. So we want to put the smallest thing out there because remember, in our mind, before we even give it to the customer, we assume that this is what the customer wants. We don't know until the customer actually gets their hands on it, play with the thing, and give us some feedback. That is the ultimate point of validation. Simplicity is the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. The best code is no code. The best process is no process. Do we really need this part? This is that principle being acted out. Simplicity is the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. We just don't want to do work just for the sake of doing it. Mind you, we are lean thinkers, right? Lean. Eliminate waste. What kind of waste? Steps, processes, tools, you get the idea. So that principle to me sounds like a lean principle. Simplicity. Let's eliminate a waste. Waste of what? Let's not write extra code if we don't need to write. Let's not have extra processes if we don't need to have it. Let's not have extra steps if we don't need to have it. Okay, I got it. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. You see, the experiment that these gentlemen, the founders of the manifesto, the experiment they ran was using their tools with self-organizing teams. So all these principles that we're reading right now, exactly, connecting the dots for you. Now, my favorite principle out of all of these is principle number 12. Watch this. This is for the teams. When I went over the Scrum guide, I gave you that commentary. I identified in Scrum that what is the game that we are playing? Ladies and gentlemen, we're playing a behavior game. You see that in Scrum. Now I'm getting ready to show it to you in Agile. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective. Well, how in the world do they do that? By tuning and adjusting its behavior accordingly. Scott, you did tell me that we plan a behavior game in Scrum when you went over the Scrum guide. I did. Scott, you are showing me the Agile Manifesto, and principle number 12 is highlighting behavior specifically, again, to highlight the fact that we're playing a behavior game. But what is this behavior about? That's what most people miss the boat on. Remember that most of us are coming from a world up to 2001 The only world option we had in any environment was project management, where we plan everything up front and then execute that plan. And the dominant management style over there is command and control, telling people what to do, how to do, when to do. The opposite approach over here in this world. Better, we want to foster an environment, like into kindergarten class. We want to foster an environment, give them the support. Imagine this is what you should be doing, supporting the team, not telling the team, supporting the team, and trust them to get the job done. Why isn't there more trust in this environment? Is HR not doing a good job of hiring the right people? Is the person qualified? Is this a professional that you're hiring? At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjust its behavior accordingly. Now, I gave you a couple good books when I did the commentary for the Scrum Guide to you. Atomic Habits is one of my favorite books. Who Moved My Cheese is also a book about behavior. We're in a behavior game. So at this stage of my career, I really don't even read Scrum and Agile books anymore because I understand that we're in a behavior game. But the only thing keeping my team from getting it done, the only thing keeping my team from building something wow, legendary or great or whatever it may be is their behavior. The only thing stopping you from getting to where it is you want to go in life is your behavior. You probably have a goal, but ask yourself this. Is your behavior aligned to you accomplishing your goal? If it is, great. If not, the first thing you should be looking at is what behaviors do I need to achieve my personal goal? If you can do that in your personal life, then surely you can go on any team and be legendary like Nanny McPhee and go into a dysfunctional family or a dysfunctional team and take them from zero to where they are dysfunctional to being a high-performing legendary team. You can do that. You can do that. This is all about the behavior. More to come on the greatest Scrum Master of all time. And my mentor, by the way. Now, hopefully you gotten super duper legendary value out of this here overview of the manifesto. But you remember I went through the framework? Sweet 16 is you using all 16 pieces of the Scrum Guide. That's going to be your first step. The second step is going to be to use all 16 pieces of the manifesto. Now, if you do that, you have no choice but to be legendary if you're using those two documents the way it was prescribed. It's not hard. This is your blueprint. They've laid it out for us to do. So all we got to do is, that's all I got to do? Yeah, sounds too simple, doesn't it? It's really that simple. In most environments I go into, it takes me about 90 days to take a team from wherever they are to them be high performing. Doesn't matter what company or organization. I do it on every team I go to now because I understand the game and how to get my team from point A to point B to all the way to Z, wherever they need to be. It takes me about 90 days to do that now. I know I'm always going to get people asking me, Scott, what are you doing? Scrum and Agile? No, Scott, really, what you doing? Scrum and Agile. Come on, Scott, man. No, really, what you doing? I keep things stupid simple. I follow the blueprint that's already been laid out by all these 17 people who have spent the time and energy and have way more insight than I have. I just follow your blueprint and leave my smartness to the side. Now, I did promise you that I will give you one more thing before we left it. So thank you for hanging around. I want to share with you what is the connection with Agile and Scrum. Well, you know that there are two different documents. You also know that these two documents are in the same kindergarten class, playing in the same playground together. You know that the Manifesto for Agile Software Development is younger than Scrum. Exactly. So how do they play together? Beautiful question. All right. Like my visual? Shout out to my sorority sisters. Alpha, Kappa, Alpha. Shout out to my fraternity brothers, Alpha Phi Alpha. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an umbrella in my office or studio. I want you to imagine that this umbrella represents Agile methodology. I want you to imagine that I, Scott, represents Scrum. Now, in relationship to the Agile methodology umbrella, where am I in relationship to it? I am underneath the umbrella. So Agile methodology is just a blanket word that covers all those persons that are on the manifesto, all the different frameworks and methodologies. All those things up underneath the Agile methodology umbrella. Scrum, Kanban, Crystal, Extreme Programming, Test-Driven Development, Behavior-Driven Development. You get the idea. All those up underneath the Agile methodology umbrella. Check this out. I can't take Kanban and get the Agile. I can't use Extreme Programming and get the Agile. The only way I'm going to get to this place called Agile is to go through Scrum. Interesting, right? Indeed it is. So hopefully that helps you understand the connection between Scrum, Agile methodologies, and what's up underneath this. You will see this visual online. Again, this is a very common visual. I just want to do my best to bring it to life for you as much as I possibly could. So hopefully that helps you and everybody else on the call. You remember principle number 12? We're playing a behavior game, right? Some of you felt uncomfortable when I opened up that umbrella indoors. Why? Because just like grandmother told me, she told you the same thing. It's bad luck to open up that umbrella indoors. But you know what? I never had the courage to ask my grandmother, why is it bad luck to open up an umbrella indoors? Do you? Because I asked that question a lot, and all the thousands of students I've had come through my class, they understand the story. They have gone through the same thing, but nobody knows why grandma told us it's bad luck or do not open up an umbrella indoors. Looking forward to finding out that answer. Unfortunately, my grandmother's not alive anymore. But if yours is alive, if your grandmother told you that, get the courage to ask her. Once the elders say something, you don't question what they say. That's how I came up. Ask her, Grandma, why is it bad luck to open up an umbrella indoors? So I had to work on that. Sometimes I still do feel weird open up the umbrella indoors. We are in a behavior changing game. I promise you, you have some behaviors to change. And that was part of the other reason I did that in this here call. So these type of things that you're going to experience if you've never taken a class with me, I give you really good stuff that anchor the point so that you never, ever will forget this stuff. Most of the time I open up that umbrella is normally when I'm teaching a class. Here's what I would say to my grandmother if she was alive. I would ask the question, Grandma, why is it bad luck for me to open up the umbrella indoors? I would listen to what she had to say, but then I would have my drop the mic moment. I would say, Grandma, that's not true. Because every time I open up that umbrella indoors, that means I got money going into my bank account. That means I have a class. That means I'm teaching people, and I'm using that prompt as an example to make sure that you understand what I'm communicating to you. And then I would drop the mic. Good night, Grandma. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I have enjoyed giving you this information. Again, I want you to be Scrum and Agile, super smart. With that information, you can begin to become legendary. Drum roll, please. I know you thought I forgot to answer your question. I didn't forget. No, of course not. What does it mean to have an agile mindset? The question I want to answer before we leave today. Ladies and gentlemen, it simply means that you will embody the 4 values and that you will embody the 12 principles of the Manifesto of Agile Software Development. That's it. So when you're talking to people, it sounds like you're getting an MIT graduate, a Harvard graduate, a Yale graduate answer. In simplistic terms, it means we're going to embody the 4 values and the 12 principles of the Manifesto of Agile Software Development. Period. That's it. Stupid simple. I keep things stupid simple. That's it. So be mindful of that as you carry out through your career. Now, what are your next steps? Your next step is, did you read the Scrum Guide today? Read the Scrum Guide each and every day, because the more you read it, the more it will reveal itself. The more you practice this stuff, the better you will get. Whatever you are good at in life, there's a direct correlation as to the time that you have spent in it. There's nowhere around it. There's no shortcuts. Out of these 3 videos, do you have everything you need to be legendary? No. This is the foundation. This is just us making sure we pouring a concrete foundation. I'm thinking about 3 little pigs. You can build a straw house, or you can build a brick house. Which one you want? I'm trying to help you build a brick house so that when things come at you and when you're navigating in these waters, that because your house is built on a rock solid foundation, is brick, the wolf can come by and huff and puff all he or she wants. But because your Scrum and Agile foundation is so strong, hey, the wolf going to eventually get tired and go on about his or her business. Please take a moment and subscribe to our channel. Make sure you share this with someone whom you love and respect and would love to help them elevate their Scrum game. We're putting this information out here for you to share. It is free of you. All you got to do is take it, implement on it, execute on it, and I know you'll do very well. Now, for those who want to expedite your Scrum game, I will see you in class. At this point, you listen to the Scrum Guide each and every day. You're going through the Scrum framework. Now that you got the Agile Manifesto and you have the pieces of the puzzle, again, at this particular point, take a self-assessment, see where you're at. If you're in the Scrum game plan, okay, great. Still, ask yourself, what do I need to improve upon? Constantly take that self-awareness check and see where you at versus where you need to be based upon your environment and what's going on in your space. Other than that, I know y'all have everything y'all need to be amazing. Again, it's awful lot you need to learn. Man, I've been in this game for years. There's still plenty of things I'm learning and will continue to learn. I'm a student of the game. I'm a Scrumologist. Yeah. Now, you are listening to the Scrum Guide each and every day. Very nice. You are going through the framework, making sure you understand that, finding some things in your personal life that you can practice and use it to get better. If you know how to use it in your personal life, it's applicable to all other things. Now that I've gotten the basics out the way, now I can go into give you some super cool stuff like, hey, how do I use Scrum in my personal life to invest in stocks, or to create wealth for my family, to create all the businesses I have? How do I use Scrum in those domains? I use both Scrum and Agile, even in my personal life and all of my businesses. The other thing you're ready for at this particular moment is now you can appreciate 3 words that I say in my closing. Now you're ready to be agile. You don't do agile, you be agile. It's a philosophy. Do Scrum, that's what you do. That is a lightweight process in which we're going to use to try to help us figure out how we're going to take the customer requirements and build a small piece of the overall product goal, show it to them at the end of the sprint review and say, hey, how we doing? Is this what you want, customer? No. Pivot and go right. Pivot and go left. Heck no. We want to find that out sooner than later so we can make sure we get on the right track to get a step closer towards our product goal, which is to do what? Well, in our fictitious example, we're still trying to get to Saturn, to one of the 82 moons on Saturn from the last video. With that in mind, be agile, do Scrum, and you will be legendary. Make sure you read the Scrum Guide today. If you don't read it, make sure you check out episode 1. Scrum Guide is already read for you with even more commentary there. Make sure you check out that video right now.